This is India, a historical and large country located in South Asia. India is soon to be the most populous country in the world with a very diverse population, assimilating hundreds of languages and a plethora of religions. This country has a very rich history associated with it, and at one time the Indian subcontinent accounted for about 25% of the global economy. Nowadays India is considered to be a vibrant economy with a secular structure and democratic values. It is the world's largest democracy, and is projected by the IMF to become the third largest economy of the world by 2030. However, the country is still operating far below its potential. Over half the country's workforce is involved in the agricultural sector. The economy of India is predicted to be very large in the coming future, but currently it even smaller than the US state of California. Its GDP per capita figures were recently overtaken by Bangladesh. During the past 3 decades, the Indian economy has transformed a lot. The country has progressed into the services sector, becoming a major player. For the sake of this video, we will discuss India's economic history to understand how well it has progressed, and what challenges it might face in the future. For nearly 2 centuries, India was under the rule of the British Empire. An estimated $45 trillion worth of riches were looted out of the country. Finally, in August of 1947, India's long and bloody fight for independence was declared successful. In the coming years, India chose to form itself as a very protectionist economy with low levels of international trade and heavy tariffs to restrict imports. Protectionism is a widely used policy to favor the domestically manufactured goods over the imported ones. The reason behind such policies is to protect local businesses and employment, or sometimes it is just another geopolitical weapon, like in the US-China trade war scenario. In India's case, the reason was quite strange. India had struggled a lot at the hands of colonial powers due to its high levels of trade, hence the government tried to implement a model where the economy is self-subsistent. India's independence was in itself a turning point in its economic history. The country was hopelessly poor as a result of steady deindustrialization by Britain. Less than a sixth of Indians were literate. The abject poverty and sharp social differences had cast doubts on India's survival as one nation. India adopted the Soviet-era 5-year plan system, and by 1950s, nationalized most of its major industries. India's first 5-year plan, launched in 1951, focused on agriculture and irrigation to boost farm output as India was losing precious foreign reserves on grain imports. The model sought to boost economic growth through higher savings and investments. The plan was a success, with the economy growing at an annualized 3.6%, beating the target of 2.1%. The second 5-year plan laid the foundation for economic modernization to better serve India's long-term growth imperatives. Launched in 1956, the model that advocated rapid industrialization with a focus on heavy industries and capital goods. The second 5-year plan and the Industrial Policy Resolution 1956, long considered the economic constitution of India, paved the way for the development of the public sector. The resolution set out as national objective the establishment of a socialist pattern of society. It also categorized industries into 3 groups. So, whatever you people heard might force you to believe that India was a communist country. Do you think that? If so, then you are wrong. Industries of basic and strategic importance were to be exclusively in the public sector. Another, comprising mostly consumer industries, was left for the private sector. India had a lot of central planned economy elements, but it was never a communist country, although Soviet Union was its largest trading partner. It was not a communist country because entrepreneurship was encouraged in India. Outside of the core state-owned industries, private businesses did exist. One such example is of restaurants and grocery stores. India was just a strange mix of capitalism and communism. Indian economy soon started to feel the heat. The quest to quickly industrialize had caused a large reallocation of funds away from the farm sector. Agriculture outlay was nearly halved to 14% in the second plan. Food shortages worsened, and inflation spiked. Imports of food depleted precious foreign exchange reserves. In 1962, India went to war with China. It was disastrous. The war with China had exposed India's economic weakness. Chronic food shortages and price rise demoralized Indians. The government started to focus on food security as India was on the verge of a mass famine in 1960s. Food aid from the US was halted at the request of the Pakistani authorities after the 1965 war. The war with China, the below-par growth outcomes of the Third Plan, and the diversion of capital to finance the war with Pakistan had left the economy severely weakened. The 1960s was a decade of multiple economic and political challenges for India. Two wars had caused hardships for the masses. The nation remained in the shadows for most of the 1970s and 1980s. One particular highlight of 1970s another war with Pakistan which eventually led to the birth of Bangladesh. By the 1990s the economy was in a severe crisis. The country, for the first time, had to sell 20 tons of gold to investment bank UBS in order to secure a $240 million loan. It pledged gold 3 more times after that sale, shipping 46.8 million tons to secure $400 million in loans from Bank of England and Bank of Japan. The economy was facing its worst crisis, and the country's foreign exchange reserves could pay for only 3 weeks of imports. Around this time a major blow came to the Indian economy. Until the 90s the Soviet Union was India's major trading partner, and a support in geopolitical and economic affairs. But then in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed and India lost its biggest export destination. This destroyed India's finances and due to this 1991 was slowest year in terms of growth rate that the country experienced. It felt like India would default on its obligations and will be bankrupt. To save the country from bankruptcy, the Indian government reached out at the doors of the International Monetary Fund for a $1.8 billion bailout package. The IMF package came with conditions to open up its economy to international trade. After 1991, the Indian state tried to shed its diffidence about foreign capital and attract investments. The country's state-owned enterprises were privatized, its once strict regulations on trade were relaxed, and foreign investment was encouraged. The following were the two main objectives of Liberalization 1991. Firstly, to boost international foreign investment, industrial production, and technology competitiveness. And secondly, to increase the position of Indian goods in the international markets. This led to the subsequent birth of a rising economic superpower. Since 1991, the Indian economy has doubled in size every 5 years. Due to India's large population, strategic location, and its immense resources, it has already climbed the ladder up to become the 5th largest economy. As doing business in China becomes more and more uncertain, bigger players are ready to catch the opportunity. We have already discussed that Vietnam is making a fortune with companies leaving China. The exodus makes India the happiest. This will introduce the Indian economy to a boom never experienced before. Is India the next superpower? Well, I cannot give a prediction with utmost belief, but with statistics, I can prove my point. Being an economist, I assure you that my verdicts are not untrue. Let's dig deep for the reasons. India has a large population of educated professionals. The country is world-renowned for exporting its qualified doctors, engineers, and finance professionals who then make it to the top. Retaining this talent in India is challenging, but it will for sure benefit India. English serves as the primary language of international business, and India stands as the second largest country in terms of English speakers. The exodus of businesses from China, educated population, favorable location, and major deals with Taiwanese company TSMC to manufacture semiconductors locally, all stand to the benefit of India. However, there might be some problems. The COVID-19 pandemic seriously impacted the Indian economy, causing it to decline around 7.2%. This shows that India has a weak infrastructure to counter unforeseen changes. Though all major economies suffered from this crisis, India is a developing country that needs consistent, robust growth. The recent Ukraine-Russia conflict also puts India at the crossroads. India has its strategic interests tied to Russia, but its economic interests lie in the West. As a country, India has never compromised on the independence of its foreign policy. For now, this country is struggling hard to maintain neutrality. This dynamic economy has paved its way to prosperity. Now let's see how India determines its future ahead. Do leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and comment down your suggestions. Please check out our other videos, links are provided in the description. Also, to take part in the polls regarding the topic of our next video, please follow our Twitter account, the link is added in the description, as well as the About section of our channel. Subscribe to stay updated and share our videos. Till then, goodbye.